Coach Young, just remember this. There's no business like snow business.
This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
Hi, welcome to 757 Sports Talk with the Coach Ed Young, who has shoveled his way out of the snow. I am Matthew Hatfield. How are you, Edward? You don't look like you're too pleased right now about your situation.
I'm battling a sore throat that I have never had in the longest time. Can't sleep the last couple of nights. Trying to use home remedies, tea and honey and warm saltwater goggles, and it's just nothing working, and it's just aggravating. So hopefully I won't shut down in the middle of this because my throat is burning right now.
Well, that's okay. I'll do most of the heavy lifting, which I'm used to at times. We'll have some pool segments. We'll do all kinds of things to keep you excitable and interested and engaged with what's happening. And the Super Bowl is now set, Coach, because we have a matchup featuring the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. Mike Vrabel, who won himself a Super Bowl or two or three as a player with the Patriots, the guy that was ran out of town in Tennessee, now leading New England from 4-13 back to a spot that they're playing in for the 12th time in franchise history as they end up beating the Denver Broncos. And let's be honest, it was a bore. 10-7 was the score. It was not an exciting game. It was not an entertaining matchup. It was really hard to watch. It became snowy, not like the Snowmageddon on the East Coast for the duration of the game, but third quarter into the fourth quarter, it just became an utter mess. But New England, hats off to them. I think Denver lost this game more than New England won it with their missed chances and opportunities. When Sean Payton should have kicked the field goal, he went for it. When he should have gone for it, he kicked the field goal, and he missed a couple of them. But 10-7, New England outlasts Denver with its really stout defense and backup quarterback Jarrett Stidham, who was drafted by New England, and they're going back to play for a Lombardi trophy, as Drake May really was more effective, Ed, as far as running the football, his scrambling, than he was throwing it. His quarterback rating was not that great. It was less than 60, 58.8, 10 of 21 passing for 86 yards, no passing touchdowns, but he did run for 65 yards and a score on 10 attempts. And that, to me, was the difference, as Denver's offense was held under 200 yards. New England only had 206 yards, and that allowed them to run the clock out in the end.
You know, I concur with that. His numbers weren't good, but I thought he did a good job of staying in there. Play calling, of course, I think it was on Vrabel's part on the play calling. It seemed to work.
Josh McDaniels is the OC.
Yeah. Daniels, the offensive coordinator. Now, when it turned to a blizzard in the second half, you almost got to figure nobody's going to look good. And kicking is probably forget it because of wind and snow, and can you even see the goalpost? So it changes a lot of dynamic of the game. Mm-hmm. For May to be able to run, and do things with his legs, which I'm not so sure that's what he's really known as. I have not given New England much credit all year. Here they are in the Super Bowl. And I dare say, I haven't looked at it. I don't think I will pick them to beat Seattle. So I'm still not giving them credit. Heck of a 9-0 record away from home. That's unbelievable. And they did what they had to do to win. Now, I ask you, I only saw parts of the game as I kept falling asleep and trying to recover.
Well, listen, you would have fallen asleep whether you were sick or not because the game was relatively boring, but go ahead.
Now, soon as Stidham was announced as the starter, Bo Nix is hurt. Everybody says they got no shot. Stidham can't do it. He hasn't thrown the past couple of years. Right. Can we say that Denver lost because of Stidham, or
no,
he was not?
Sean Payton. Stidham was adequate. Now, his numbers weren't great. 6-17 of 31, a $133, a touchdown, had a pick, had a lost fumble. But Denver had chances. They should have gone up 10-0 in the first half. Their defense played well enough to win. Their offense was just adequate against a really strong New England defense. And, again, it felt like more, I don't want to discredit New England, but more like Denver couldn't get it done, and they were ultra-conservative, ultra-indecisive, and it wasn't Stidham's fault. By no means do I blame him for the defeat. And New England's going to the Super Bowl. Their schedule was talked about as being cupcake-ish all year long. They end up as the AFC East champs, not the Buffalo Bills, and they're going to play for the Lombardi Trophy. And now they're an underdog against not the LA Rams. And they've had two wild Super Bowls with the Rams before. Think of the one they beat the greatest show on turf with Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, and then they won the one against Sean McVay and company with Brady and Belichick. They've also had a doozy of a Super Bowl with Seattle, and that's what they'll see for a second time, not the Rams for a third time, because it ends up being the Seahawks who end up prevailing over the Rams in one of the classic NFC championships that we expected to see, 31-27, as they got it done. Sam Darnold has a career day, Edward, 346 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, outdueled Matthew Stafford, who threw for 374 and 3, had a slightly better quarterback rating, made the key plays when he had to. He found Cooper Kupp. He found Jackson Smith and Jigba, and the Seahawks are going to play in Super Bowl 60 with Mike McDonald as the coach. The Rams got the ball back in the fourth quarter, put together a long drive. I think it was like 14 plays. They went almost 85 yards, and they got stopped on fourth down inside the 10. And it happened after a couple possessions prior. The Seahawks had stopped them on 3rd and 12 up multiple scores, but Tariq Woolen was about to be the bonehead of the year because he gets an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. But what did the Rams in was special teams. They muff a punt, so similar to some issues they've had all year long. Remember, they fired a special teams coach in December. They had that punt blocked against Carolina in the wildcard round. It did them in because offensively, if you rack up 479 yards on the road against that Seattle defense, and you make the plays you do with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, you should win a ball game. But Seattle didn't let them do it, and it's the Seahawks going to Super Bowl 60.
Yeah, again, I agree with what you're saying in terms of Seattle. I knew Seattle defense would come to play. I think a little bit more known for that defense than on offense. But Sam Darnold, here's a guy that I think gets chastised in the media a lot. Like, can he lead this team into a Super Bowl? Minnesota kind of gave up on him, and he's bounced around. I think he's with the Jets before. Well, he's in the Super Bowl. You got to give him some kind of credit in terms of what he's doing. I mean, he's got some really good receivers, and like I said, that defense does carry them a lot. But when they got the ball, he seems to know what he's doing.
He does. And by the way, this graphic is why people are not high on New England. 18 points per game in the playoffs, the fewest by any team to make the Super Bowl since the Rams of 79. And 79, 15 points per game. And how about this? Sam Darnold's the first USC quarterback now to start a Super Bowl. Who would have thought that? From Southern Cal, he'd be the first quarterback, which has been known for its running backs. You think of O.J. Simpson and Reggie Bush and some of the backs that Southern Cal's had. But so there's your matchup. The Hawks of Seattle and the Patriots of New England on February 8th out in Santa Clara, San Francisco, by the Bay. What do you think the spread is for this game? Have you looked at it yet? You know what the spread is?
I'm going to guess 3.5.
You're close. Look at you. It's 4.5 with a total of 46.5. And Seattle is favored, of course, against the Pats for Super Bowl 60. We'll have 2 weeks to dissect and digest that matchup coming up. But we have plenty more around the corner on Cova Sports TV, including conversation with ESPN Major League Baseball analyst Tim Kurkjian. He's a Hall of Famer. We'll ask him about shoveling the snow, maybe. Never know. And we'll go through some high school hoops. Buzzer beaters galore in the month of January. It's all coming your way on 757 Sports Talk. Like, share, and always subscribe to Cova Sports TV.
This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
Yes, it is 757 Sports Talk. I am the coach, Ed Young. Smithfield Packers. We compete in Region 4A, so I pay attention, close attention to teams that we might, if we're lucky enough to get in those regionals, we might have to run into, such as the Denbigh Patriots, who have a heck of a season. And they won a heck of a ball game on Martin Luther King Day last week over the Norview Pilots on a crazy shot at the buzzer. Wait till you see it. We'll get to see that game winner from Callen Morrison, plus hear what he and Coach Jay Grimes had to tell about Hatfield afterwards, right now on Cova Sports TV.
All right, here with the Denbigh Patriots hero today, Callen Morrison, a half-court buzzer beater as they stunned Norview 76-74 in the MLK Day of Dreams Showcase at Kings Fork High School in Suffolk. All right, you just told me you hit a buzzer beater before in AAU. You were calm, cool, collective under pressure. What did you see there on that last possession? Did you know what was coming your way there to heave it up?
Really the play, I was really just a decoy to run up the court. I didn't even think I was going to get the ball, but I got it, shot it, felt good, and went in.
Who did you think was going to get the ball? Who was it designed for? If you can...
Somebody in the post.
Okay, somebody in the post. It's a crazy game. You guys are hanging around all game long. You didn't get as many numbers, if you will, playing time. But how cool is it to kind of have your chance in this moment to win the game against a really good team like Northview in this spot?
I mean, it's really all of my teammates. They put the trust in me as a new transfer to come in and take that shot and end the game. It's really all of my teammates and my coaches. How's
that adjustment been for you? You played on the gridiron for Denbigh this past year, had an impact. You were on Woodside's couple of state championship teams. Now you go over to the crosstown rival. How have you fit in with Coach Grimes and the system and the guys here?
I mean, I feel like I fit in pretty good. I've been knowing these guys before we even went to high school, so just another great fit for me.
Sure, you mentioned that you obviously play AAU on the Boo Williams circuit, I think is with Kevin Parker. How's that chemistry you guys have from football, catching passes from him, and also you guys in the backcourt kind of knowing each other's tendencies, if you will? How much has that helped?
I mean, I can really say best backcourt duo in the state.
Okay. What makes
best on the field duo in the state, too.
What makes him so good on the court, and what do you think he does to help your game?
The way he attacked the post, he can find open shooters and finish at the rim.
Sure. How much do you help his game? What is kind of your role with this team? Because you're known to set people up. What do you think you do best to help out your teammates, him included?
Can knock down shots, gravitate the defense towards me. When I drive, find him open, he can go and finish too.
I'm sure you watch the NBA, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've been told you look like Jamal Murray from the Nuggets. This is your Jamal Murray moment. Do you like those comps, the look-alike comps, and also the big shot comp today?
Been getting that for a while now, actually.
You have been, all right.
Yeah.
But you can take it after this win today. What's this do for you guys? I know you've had some battles with Hampton. You'll see them again. One with Woodside. You'll see your former school again. What's this win do for you guys as you try to get better and move on from this and grow from this?
Does a lot. Especially after the loss we took the other night, taking 2 in a row. I think that would be a pretty big hit for our team, but we needed this one really bad.
Sure, and you are a multi-sport athlete, football, basketball. Do you have a favorite, and do you have, I guess, aspirations to play one of the two more than the other in college? What's kind of your view for that outlook?
Whatever the best opportunity for me is, that's where I'm going to go.
He's Mr. Clutch for the Denbigh Patriots. Callen Morrison gets it done at the buzzer. Thanks so much. Congrats.
Thank you.
Here with Denbigh head basketball coach Jay Grimes, 76-74 over the Norview Pilots at the MLK Day of Dreams Showcase at Kings Fork High School in Suffolk to move to 11-2 on the season. Coach, you're a relatively youngster newbie at this coaching game, but you've had success turning the Denbigh program around. This is your first buzzer beater you've been a part of, certainly one of the more memorable ones to be a team like this in this type of spot from half court, huh?
Yes, for sure. As a varsity coach, that is my first buzzer beater.
Okay.
It's a big shot by a big guy.
Yeah, Callen Morrison, whose numbers aren't, overwhelming today, 7 points for you, had a few assists. You had 3 guys score 20+, but how proud are you of him to stay, confident in the moment to do it and get it done from half court like that?
Man, he is one of our strongholds on this team. He keeps us going, man. His motor, his ability to get his teammates involved, and his ability to knock down big shots. So he's always ready for that moment, and I always know I got a play coming from him.
You were kind of down much of the game in that kind of 4 to 6 to 8 point range, but you were hanging around. It was just a matter of you knew you could foul them and just keep extending the game. What was kind of your thought process and message to the guys in some of those huddles late down the stretch?
It was stay disciplined to our details, man. We would kind of get out of what we were, our principles defensively, and it just gave them too many advantages. Keon Mitchell Fast is a great, amazing guard, one of the best in this district and state. And we got to do a little bit better job making his life a little bit harder. We gave him too many opportunities. And it was more so those talks in the conversation, in the huddles, about just stick to our details.
And early on, you guys face guarded him with Nasir Johnson. He did a really good job today. He gets 20 points to go with Kevin Parker's 23 points and 6 assists, and Victor George's 20 points. And we'll hit on those two guys in a moment. But he got loose late. Was it just a matter, though, make him have to earn tough buckets and have to earn it from the foul line because that might not be his strength, even though he's a prolific scorer?
Yeah, that was part of our mindset, but we couldn't give up those layups. Those layups that we gave up were backbreakers.
For sure. Tell me what George has brought for you, because I feel like he's sort of the underrated guy for your team. People know about Morrison, football, basketball, AAU, Parker, D1 recruit, and even, Nasir Johnson's a key player for you, but he really stepped up for you in the paint today.
Yes, indeed. He's a junior. He's been under the radar for sure. He put a lot of size on this summer that's allowing him to tussle a little bit bigger, more than he did in previous seasons. He has great touch, a great feel for the game. And he's going to be a big threat, and he is showing he's a big threat. He had a big game against Hampton, shows up big tonight too. He's big in big moments.
Tim, we'll let you run here. Certainly, you beat Hampton to start off the season. You know, you'll see them again. You lost a tough Newport News rivalry in Woodside. You'll see them again. You went up to Winchester, played Hanley. What are those experiences going on the road, playing in a show like this, done for your team and your growth? Because I know the goal is state tournament, state championship for Denbigh this year.
Indeed. This is all a grind right now. Every coach is in the game of just trying to hit their stride as they go in the playoff, man. And these wins and losses right now, I would love to win everything, but these losses and things that we incur are all steps along our journey. And God's taking us to amazing places, and he's going to continue working with us as long as we put our faith in him. So everything that we're doing right now, the ups and downs are part of our moment and part of our journey.
Sure. And lastly, it feels like the nucleus of this team and the chemistry is really, really sharp. And how much are you going to lean on that here as you get ready for what's ahead? And I know, still some battles await for you in the PD, but this is a game that's certainly going to help you guys on your building and your growth, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Man, that's a top 10 team in this area. And man, they put up 80 a game, man. It's hard to match what they do. So just getting a win in this big situation is key for our guys and our morale as we head and get closer to the playoffs.
An exciting one for the Patriots from the PD. Denbigh High School gets done. Thank you so much, Coach. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Next up on the show is Tim Kurkjian of ESPN, the Hall of Famer, to chat Major League Baseball with us on 757 Sports Talk. It's Cova Sports TV. Good deal. Let's get into your specialty, though. I know it's not cooking, it's baseball here and the offseason. There's a lot of chatter about what might happen next year. But before we even touch on that here, some recent offseason moves. We know about the Dodgers picking up Kyle Tucker. The Mets here have been pretty busy with Bo Bichette, Freddie Peralta, Luis Robert. What in the last couple of weeks here has been the most, I guess you could say, interesting to you on the offseason transactions front?
Well, you identified them both. The Dodgers are so good. We're in the middle of a dynasty right now. Last 6 years, 3 championships and a winning percentage of .630. The last team to have a 6-year stretch with 3 championships and a winning percentage that high was the 53 through 58 Yankees. That's how good the Dodgers are. And now they're better because they've signed Edwin Diaz to be their closer. He is a dominant ninth inning pitcher. And Kyle Tucker, for me, was the best everyday player on the free agent market. So the best team just got a whole lot better. Let's not forget they won the World Series in 2024 without a starting rotation. And then they won last year without a bullpen. Now they have a great starting rotation, a much better bullpen, tremendous everyday lineup. So the Dodgers are one team that has really gotten better in the offseason, not like they really needed to. And the Mets, as you mentioned, Matthew, they have gotten significantly better in the last 6 weeks. Marcus Semien really gives them an upgrade at second base defensively. Luis Robert Jr. is a terrific defensive center fielder. Now we're going to see if he can find his swing again. And they've added Freddie Peralta for their starting rotation. He will be their best pitcher when the season begins. And Bo Bichette, that guy can hit no matter where he plays or what position he plays. They'll probably play him at third base. The Mets have gotten demonstrably better the last 6 weeks, and they'll be a very interesting team to watch going into spring training.
Before I let Ed jump back in here with you, Tim, about, I'm sure, the Yankees and other topics of note here, it brings me to, with the Mets additions, as you know, here in the Hampton Roads market in Tidewater, one of the big things about our area is Norfolk Tides with a long-time AAA minor league club for the New York Mets. Now they're the AAA club for the Baltimore Orioles. So I look at those two teams, the Orioles, who made 2 big additions, one of which includes a former Met in Pete Alonso, the polar bear at first base, and Taylor Ward, who had a heck of a year with the Angels a season ago, part of that Grayson Rodriguez trade. Those two teams, the O's and the Mets, with their additions, how much movement do you see upward in their divisions, which are really, really fierce? In the American League East, with the Blue Jays defending AL champs, and Boston, and the Yankees, and in the case of the Mets, with the Phillies and the Braves, who should be healthy this year. How much movement upward do you see those teams making, and is it all going to be dependent upon starting pitching for both?
Right. The Mets have gone from a 500 team for me to a contender for the wild card and maybe even a contender with the Phillies and the Braves in the National League East. That's how much improved they are. And they still have some work to do. They're going to miss Pete Alonso, but they've done some good things there. The Orioles have done some good things also. I mean, Pete Alonso is going to hit between 40 and 50 home runs, maybe even more for the Orioles. Shane Baz is really going to add something to their starting rotation. Remember, a couple of years ago, he had one of the best arms in baseball. I still think they need another starting pitcher. Framber Valdez would fit perfectly, but he would fit perfectly with a lot of teams. And yes, Taylor Ward's really going to add something to that offense. Remember how terrible their production was from first base last year. Alonso is really going to take care of things over there. And he plays every day, and he loves to play the game. So I think they have moved themselves into at least the possibility of having the second best team in the American League East behind the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, to me, are better than the Orioles. That's clear. The Blue Jays made a great run through the World Series. They should have won the World Series, and they've improved in the offseason. But the Yankees are better. The Red Sox are slightly better. Orioles are definitely better. So I think it's going to be a very strong division with three teams going for second place, and all three of them could make the playoffs. But I think Toronto's still the best team in the division.
You heard it there from Tim, Ed.
Yeah, Tim, I kind of agree with you. Before I get to my beloved Yankees, the Mets, though. Bichette at third, he's never played it. Polanco at first, I think he's played a couple games. It seems like they're just trying to bring in names. Let's get him in here, and then we'll worry about where to play him later. And one of their biggest problems, I thought, last year was on the defensive side. And I don't see how they improved that at all. What is it, because they have the money to throw at it? What are the Mets really trying to do here?
Well, you're right. A lot of teams these days just get a hitter and just put him at a position and just say, all right, you're going to, whatever you do defensively, you're going to make up for it offensively. I think Bo Bichette can play third base. I don't think he's much of a shortstop anymore, but we saw him play second base in the World Series last year, and I thought he did amazingly well for a guy who had never played that position ever. Third base is on the same side as shortstop. I think he'll be okay there, but I think wherever you put him, they're going to hit. And I think they have upgraded their defense, at least in two spots, at second base with Marcus Semien, who's a Gold Glover, and with Luis Robert Jr., who's a former Gold Glover. But, yeah, the Mets still have some work to do, but they needed offensive help, especially after losing Pete Alonso. And I think they've added help in 4 different positions.
Well, it brings me to the Yankees. I sat through this with Bellinger, like, all right, Bellinger, you talked about being a Yankee and everything was great. And then it took forever, and they signed him. Meanwhile, they really didn't do a whole lot else. And I know Steinbrenner's talking about not upping that salary, the luxury tax, whatever. We have a good team already. We just need a couple little pieces. We're going to get some pitchers back. I don't know if they've really improved that much. Obviously, you're closer to the situation I am. How are the Yankees going to be? Did they improve? And what's really going on with that group?
All right, they have improved because when they lost to Toronto in the playoffs last year, and I covered that series, did the games on the radio, it was clear, and Aaron Boone said it after the games, the Blue Jays took it to us. They were younger, better defensively, more athletic, more aggressive, and it showed in every game played. So Cody Bellinger is going to help that athleticism because he's still relatively young. He can play multiple positions at a high level defensively. He can run, and he's exactly what they needed, and you can play him in various places all over the field, and he will do a good job defensively. They still have significant questions, but they think they're going to be answered when Garrett Cole comes back, which we're never quite sure with a Tommy John guy. Cam Schlittler is going to be there all season. He looks like the real thing to me. So I kind of like what the Yankees did, but they still have another move to make if they're going to challenge the Blue Jays and win that division. I still think they have a playoff team there, but we're starting to see in the playoffs this just isn't good enough for the Yankees to try to beat you, hit the ball out of the ballpark, because it didn't work last year. They're still working on becoming a more well-rounded team, but Cody Bellinger certainly helps in that process.
If you got a baseball-related question for Tim Kurkjian, ESPN MLB analyst and Hall of Famer, our guest here, you can do so here on Cova Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe. You can also check out Tim's podcast. We'll tell you about that with him and his son as well here on this edition of the program with us on 757 Sports Talk. We do have a couple questions that have come in for you, Tim. One from Roger in Chesapeake wants to know, Seattle, can they get to the World Series? They've been close. In fact, I see one of the preseason magazines, for what it's worth, has them winning the American League. What do you make of the M's, who had a heck of a showing last year, those series with Detroit and Toronto? Are they equipped to win this American League?
I think Toronto's the best team in the American League, but yes, Seattle can win the American League pennant and go to the World Series for the first time. Their starting pitching is ridiculously good. They have 5 quality starting pitchers, and they started to build more of an offensive team last year. But I'm still not sold that they're going to score enough runs to be a dominant team in the American League. They're going to have to get a little bit more production from Julio Rodriguez, star player, early in the season. And then you have to wonder if the catcher, Cal Raleigh, is going to hit 60 homers again. That kid is great. He's going to be a really good player for 10 more years. I'm sure of that. But I just wonder about their offense. Are they going to score enough runs to be a dominant team? But, yeah, I would pick them to win the AL West right now. And with that starting pitching, you get in the playoffs, you can go a long way.
Another question I'll throw your way here, Tim, before Ed jumps back in here. Rod in Suffolk wants to know, he's a diehard Guardians fan, how remarkable is the new Jose Ramirez extension, and will they make a run at anyone to add a bat? We know about them trying to keep Stephen Kwan and what happened last year with all the gambling and everything, but the Ramirez extension, will they add a bat in your eyes?
Yeah, they need to add another hitter or two. First off, the extension was tremendous news for Ramirez, but more for the Guardians. That guy is a future Hall of Famer. He is one of the best players in the game, and he has been for a long time. But they need to add some punch around him, and I just don't know if they have the funds to do that. Now, they made the playoffs last year. It was a miracle run towards the end, and they did it with a bullpen. It was down 2 guys, including their closer, because of the betting violations and everything else. I'm so impressed with the way the Guardians go about things, but they need to add another hitter, and soon.
Yeah, it's an amazing organization there with Chernoff and Stephen Vogt and the managers dugout there 2 years in a row as the guy that's leading the charge there after Terry Francona. We're talking with Tim Kurkjian, MLB analyst from ESPN, Hall of Famer. Again, if you got a question, you can jump in here on our Cova Sports TV YouTube channel or send it to us through X, Twitter, Facebook, all different outlets here with us on 757 Sports Talk. Ed?
Tim, is there anybody else that maybe really proved themselves over the summer over the winter, and let's watch out for them? And maybe the second part of the question is somebody who you thought was going to be okay, but maybe didn't do as much as they should have and may not go up and possibly down.
I really like what the Cubs did in the offseason. Look, they were a playoff team last year, but they re-signed Shota Imanaga, who's their best pitcher, and that really, really helps them. They added Alex Bregman to play third base. He's going to bring a winning culture there, which is already there, thanks in part to Craig Counsell. Now they have a really good offensive and defensive infield. So I think the Cubs have positioned themselves to win that division and maybe even be a challenge to the Dodgers in the postseason. That's what I really am impressed by what the Cubs have done. They've added in several different areas, and they're a very good team right now. As for the player that I just can't get my hands around where Adley Rutschman is right now for the Orioles. He came up as such a good player. He's the face of the franchise. He was such a really good catcher, but he has really fallen off offensively the last year and a half, and it's a mystery to everyone. I was certain he would come back in 2025 and have a great season, and he didn't. And now I think there are questions like, what has happened to this guy? Now, the beauty of baseball is this kind of stuff happens all the time to good players, and suddenly they find it and they're good again. That's what I think is going to happen to Adley Rutschman, but there are people who have questions about him right now, and I just never saw that coming several years ago.
Yeah, to follow up on that, Tim, we have a lot of diehard Orioles fans, as you know, here in the 757 area code with the Norfolk Tides being the AAA team. And I heard this from even the commentators up there that do the games, specifically Jim Palmer and those guys. But the catcher position being, it's hard. It's such a physical toll. I mean, that's what we marvel at why Cal Raleigh's been able to do what he's done, and guys that did it for years like Pudge Rodriguez and Mike Piazza. But he is 28 years of age, I think it is. So he's not one of the older catchers, but he's not a spring chicken either. But that is a head-scratching thing there. Do you think they use him more in different spots like DH, or what? Is there a solution there for that?
Yeah, they're going to have to move him around because they have another catcher. Sam Basayo has great power and has a chance to be a really good major league hitter. But I think if Adley Rutschman is on your team, and clearly he is, he needs to be the primary catcher, and he needs to catch as many games as possible. Now, if they see that the physical toll behind the plate is affecting him at the plate, then they're going to have to keep moving him around. But first base is now taken. And you don't want a guy who, used to be such a good defensive catcher being your DH. But I think they need to move him around, keep him fresher. They need to try something to get him back to where he was, 2 or 3 years ago. And that will be a key for the Orioles this year.
Good deal. A few minutes here with Tim Kurkjian, MLB analyst for ESPN, our guest here on 757 Sports Talk and Cova Sports TV. I guess I'll address the elephant in the room here and let Ed follow up with you here, Tim. And this is America's pastime, the game you've spent your entire life with and love, but the labor negotiations that are heating up here. And then what's transpired with the Dodgers, it's much like, Ed will get mad at me saying this, but the Yankees in the 90s and early 2000s, where it just seemed like they just continue to buy. And it is the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, the health of the sport right now. And do you fear about what's coming after the CBA expires, where we are with this, and how do you think it plays out in your eyes?
Yeah, I'm worried, like most people who cover the game or are in the game, is that I think at this moment there is a much better average chance that we're going to have a work stoppage next year. The CBA expires on December the 1st, and we got to get something going now. But it's not all the Dodgers' fault. Let's not blame them. So many teams have spent so much money, but it's just not healthy when the Dodgers have a $400 million payroll, which they're expected to have this year, and a couple other teams are going to be under $100 million. We have to address that. But fellas, I covered the 81 strike. 81, that was 45 years ago. And we're still talking about some of the same problems that we had back then. And the owners say we need a salary cap. Well, that's not happening as long as the union is in place, which it is. So I'm really worried about where we're going to be 11 months from now. But let's just hope both sides, who are very far apart at the moment, get together and find a way. There is so much money in the game right now for players and for owners. It's got to be divided better. We got to find a way to make this work, because a lockout, a work stoppage would be potentially devastating for baseball in 2027.
Yeah, it would be. It really would be, Ed.
Yeah, and Tim, my feeling is with this salary cap, to me, I think it's going to be the big stumbler that definitely will hold people out, because if the owners are going to come together and say, we got to stop this. Of course, the Dodgers aren't going to say it. Is it going to be the main topic that can hurt the game, or is there a couple other things that might? Because you kind of alluded to the fact that the union is not going to agree on salary cap. Something great would have to happen for them for the cap to go into place. But is there maybe some other points of interest that we're not really looking at, or is it basically salary cap?
It's basically the salary cap, but we just have to find a way to bring the under $100 million payrolls and the $400 million payroll and somehow get them closer together. Luxury tax, revenue sharing. We've been talking about this for 50 years, and we still don't have a workable situation. If I were the Dodgers and I had this kind of freedom to do whatever I wanted, I'd do the same thing, deferred money, everything else. But the cap is going to be what is going to be discussed. We have to find a way to get something done without a salary cap coming in, because I repeat, the union is just not going to allow that to happen.
Well, Tim, sorry, Matt. Tim, can we flip it? Can we say a floor cap And would the union be for that? It's more money, or the owner's going to say, no, we're not doing that, because is there more owners underpaying or more owners overpaying? So can we flip it, and would that be the issue? A floor cap?
Yeah, a floor has been discussed many times, and yes, it seems logical that it would help that if you don't have $125 million payroll or 150, you get out of the game. If you can't afford it, then you got to go sell your team. But that isn't very easy to do either. And there are enough people who make a valid point that, okay, if we're at 80 million and we're going to win, 60 games at 80 million, and if we get to 100 million, we're going to win 63 games. Well, what's the difference? 3 wins cost you $20 million. The owners are not going to look at that way. So the floor makes a lot of sense, but it's just not as easy as it seems.
The sports love dominant teams, Tim, certainly whether it's the Yankees or the Dodgers. But, and I hate to say this off what was one of the all-time World Series, as you well know, covering it last year, went 7 games and dramatic finishes. But in some ways, does it have long affecting hurt to a sport? I know that the Yankees run came after the strike in the mid-90s, but if the Dodgers continue to win 3-4 of these things and they continue to stockpile some of these mega names, does it hurt the sport in your eyes, and is there a way to solve that?
Again, that's what the CBA is all about. How do we handle one team with a payroll this high and another so low? I'm just not going to say that the Dodgers are bad for baseball. I mean, every great drama needs a villain and a hero. And in some people's minds, the Dodgers are the villains. Frankly, I don't look at it that way. They are following the rules. They run their organization so well. They draft and develop so well. Players who go from other teams go to the Dodgers and suddenly get better, really know what they're doing. And again, they're not the only team that's spending a lot of money, but still, they're going to be the poster boys for all of this. People are saying we are going to have a lockout next year because of the Dodgers. I'm not going that far, but yeah, we have to find a way to make the finances in the game work better. And right now, I don't see a solution.
Very well put. One more comment here from our audience out there that's been chiming in through the Twitter, the X, the Facebook, and YouTube. I think it's a legitimate question here. Actually, we have one here for you. Here it is from Sports 2026 J9V. And I was going back to some of the issues that Ed talked about. And you covered the sports, so you talk to athletes all the time. Are there problems crossing international borders for the major league players? Is that something you've encountered in discussing with people?
Well, there always is. I mean, every spring, guys have visa problems and have trouble getting to spring training. And with everything that happened in Venezuela recently, there are a lot of players who play in the big leagues who are from Venezuela. I expect there to be even more issues getting over here. Let's hope that is not the case. Let's hope everyone recognizes we got to work harder to make sure we get the players here on time. But yes, I think it could be a slightly bigger problem this year with everything that's going on around the world right now.
It is 5 o'clock somewhere. Beijing, perhaps, but not here. Let's go back to 757 Saturday Sports Talk, where you always know what time it is, with Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young on Cova Sports TV.
Well, I tell you what, I would like to throw that full Hatfield in that pool in this weather where it's 10 degrees and we're in the midst of sleet, snow, and rain and whatever. I'd like to see him in the pool under those conditions. But anyways, Matt recently spoke with Kings Fork Bulldog head coach Rick Hite. His team bounced back from a loss to Catholic with recent wins over 2 Chesapeake teams, Indian River and the undefeated Oscar Smith Tigers. Let's check it out now on Cova Sports TV.
All right, here with Kings Fork head basketball coach Rick Hite. His Bulldogs won a hard-fought game on the road at the Dollar Dome in Chesapeake over Oscar Smith, 59-54 to move to 10-4 in the season. Coach, as you have an 7-point lead down the stretch, it gets under a minute. You got 2 freshmen playing integral roles in the stretch. You're hoping and thinking, I imagine, let's not have deja vu from a couple years ago in a buzzer-beating loss, aren't you?
Yeah, and it was crazy. I wasn't here, so
that's right. You
so
weren't here.
I wasn't even thinking about it.
That's right.
I just wanted to get a dub against a really good Oscar Smith team.
I forgot about that. You had G. Jackson filling in for you that night. But you've had some Close, winnable games you've lost here lately. Overtime at Catholic in your showcase. Nansemond River at the buzzer. Game against Green Runner in a showcase that you were leading for chunks of that game. With a young team, are you learning something from the losses in your eyes?
We're growing up. We need to get through some adversity. Right. My biggest thing was how would they respond? If you go back to those games, we were down, came back. Right. The Catholic game, we was up, lost the lead. We came back, had the best practice of the year. So I feel good about what our 14-year-old and 15-year-old freshmen are doing.
Well, you told me before the game we're going to have a couple changes, one of which was a lineup change with Nasir Jenkins. What has he brought your team in the starting lineup now?
He's a dog. He's a versatile big that can put it on the ground, that can make shots, and he can rebound. He's a dog.
Watched you play Deep Creek and Melvin Wofford dominate. His numbers haven't been as prolific, but down the stretch, he made a couple of key plays, including and one that gave you a cushion. What are you seeing from him in his floor game? Just the guys around him kind of stepping up with him not to do all of it.
No. So we've talked about this kind of is his team. It's the first time being his team. So, he is learning that role. It takes a little bit of time, but he's built for it for sure.
In the third quarter, a trio of threes from one of those freshmen that led you, and DJ Hubbard. He made some free throws on the stretch for you as well. Number 5 comes off the bench at times. He starts for you at times, but he's a player, isn't he?
He's going to be one of those kids. Like I said, the freshman class, they used to winning. They went 22-0, 21-0 last year. JV guys, he's the goods.
What do you like about Hubbard specifically, and also Isaiah Emmon, your front court freshman post who had 9 rebounds tonight? He was all over the floor. It felt like.
And that's what we just got to keep his motor up. He's a skilled guy. He's like Bill a little bit when Bill was a freshman. He'll do more things as you get a little older, but he has poise. Both of them has poise, which kind of helps us.
Yeah, high praise when you say George Beal was playing in the Big 12 for UCF. Come on at your run. Certainly Oscar Smith's coming off a loss this week in your event over there at Kings Fork when they fell to Woodside by a lopsided margin. But they're dangerous, and Coach Griff has a team that's always in the mix. It was just a matter in the second half not letting Case and Fitch get loose because he got loose in the first quarter.
He's a player. He does a lot for them inside, outside. He's a leader. He's having fun out there. I love watching the kid. We made some adjustments to, get up and stay attached to him.
Lastly, you win the rebounding battle by about 11 or 12 tonight. We talked about it before. Class 5, Region B, where you've got yourself, Norview, Nansemond River, Woodside, Granby. It feels like you're talented enough, but you're also very young. And maybe sometimes if you're young, you don't know if you're not supposed to win or win it, right? What's your thought?
No, and that's it right there. We said coming into this game, we're in playoff mode. We all week we've been in playoff mode. We know how to win a playoff game. Now we got to try to win the rest of the games going forward and then win some in the playoffs, plain and simple.
One thing's for sure, when you see Kings Fork, you're going to see some excitement and drama down the stretch. Thanks so much. All the best.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
As we close out this edition of 757 Sports Talk, brought to you by Cova Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe. It's the final week of January before we turn the calendar to February and the College Football National Championship. What a game it was last Monday night, Ed. Indiana's Hoosiers. They did it. They did a movie called Hoosiers, and now we have to figure out who's going to play Kurkjian. We joked about it before. Is it going to be Dennis Quaid? Is it going to be Nicolas Cage? Is it going to be this guy, that guy? Who's going to play him? Who knows? But one thing is for sure, you better Google this guy. A book will be coming out, how he develops programs and quarterbacks from Elon to James Madison. And how about the 757 flavor from Callen Black to Tyreek Tucker to LeBron Bond's going to be a name there, we figure, sooner than later at wide receiver from Maury High School to, my goodness, they got a lot of Virginia talent on this Hoosiers team that held off Miami 27-21. Hats off to Miami, too. Hats off to them. They had a heck of a showing, but Fernando Mendoza and Signetti, the fourth down gambles paid off. They were aggressive. They didn't flinch, and his emotions are always the same except when he's happy.
That's amazing because most coaches have well-defined facial expressions for the exact moment.
Well, are you the same as Signetti is when you're mad and excited, hungry and sad? I know you're hungry. You look different. You gotta look different.
No, when I'm a little perturbed. It will show. Okay. There will be signs that somebody.
Now he's happy there. He's happy there. He's not sad there.
Well, that's the game is over. The journey's over. So now he can relax, hoist the trophy. Undefeated season from start to finish. Fairy tale out of somewhat nowhere. I mean, you got to give it to them. They just, of course, now everybody's hot on Well, let's see what he does next year. Can they enjoy this year?
I know. And like I said, all these Virginia guys, even beyond the 757 talent, Elijah Surratt at wide receiver, and Stephen Daly, and leading tackler Aiden Fisher from Riverbend in Fredericksburg. Daly, by the way, from the Winchester area and Hanley High School. I mean, this is just some incredible stuff, what they've done at Indiana. And by the way, cue some Rodney Dangerfield, no respect, because still the early top 25 from our friends at On 3, in conjunction with Rivals, my parent company at Virginia Preps. Look at this. They got the Hoosiers 5th, not even the number 1 team in their own state, behind Notre Dame, behind Texas and Arch Manning, who will be arching his back again. They open up with the Buckeyes. And, oh, by the way, then they beat the Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, and they're behind them and Georgia. They got them 5th. I am fascinated they got Virginia Tech 23rd, by the way, as James Franklin tries to get the Hokies back on the national scene and map sooner than later.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potpourri going on for Franklin there in Virginia Tech to see if he can bring them back to that top 25 glory they once were automatically in. The Indiana thing, of course, it's hard for me to say. I'm a Notre Dame homer, true and true. I would probably go Texas 2 over Georgia. I wouldn't have any problem saying Indiana should come in preseason number 1. I think whoever did this, the On 3 people, went a little bit too involved, too in depth with it to try to act like, no, this isn't Indiana. From Mendoza's gone, and a lot of other people are gone, and breaking in a new quarterback from TCU, but you got them 5th, so they're going to lurk somewhere in that top. So, but it is the way too early. Top 25 again, just to generate talk. I look at LSU and I think about all that Lane Kiffin stuff. You had a team that was on its way possibly to play for a national title, and you took the LSU job to hopefully play for a national title someday. Money can do some crazy things to people.
Well, and Michigan's won one recently. They're 11th in that poll. LSU 12th. We'll see how it all shakes out. Penn State, Franklin's former schools, 14th, right behind BYU. But Miami did a lot of things right in that championship game, Ed. They were answering and putting pressure on Indiana, but Indiana didn't flinch. And it's all because of, Google me, Cignetti. I told you this before. You heard David Glenn bringing up this. He's the smartest guy in the room. What he's done, you marvel at it. Because to me, it's one of the most incredible stories in college sports and sports in general. And the championship game, which you watched more of it than I did because I was at Kings Fork. I watched a lot of the highlights in the game later on. It wouldn't be the best championship of all time. I'm not that personal at the moment, but it's got to be in the top 5, top 10 at championship games. I mean, I think to me, the best one that leaps to mind right away was Texas and USC. Vince Young and the Longhorns against Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, and Southern Cal. That overtime classic with Ohio State and Miami with Maurice Clarett, North McGahee's up there too. But this game is not Alabama, Georgia played a classic. This game is not far down the list. It's only going to be maybe 2 or 3 games behind it because the first half wasn't all that exhilarating. The second half got riveting, and you couldn't take your eyes off it if you were watching it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It just, I think people kept waiting for Miami to just knock them off. And again, Miami was one of the teams, including me, said shouldn't be in it. And they went all the way to the championship with a chance to win it. But Indiana just was on that fairy tale merry-go-round or train or whatever you want to call it, I think, and they just executed so well. Line play, and everybody talk about how great Miami's defense is. Indiana's defense wasn't too bad itself. No. And I do like the side note of some key Virginia guys, especially a couple from 757, played a big role. Now, remember, they went with Cignetti from JMU. They weren't outright recruited from high school.
Well, Bond was, but he didn't have as prominent a role as Tucker on the D-line or Black at running back. But that is a fair point. And by the way, also to add to that point, you mentioned the quarterback from TCU, which is Josh Hoover. You do know he originally committed to Indiana during Tom Allen's tenure before signing with TCU. And, of course, he threw for over 3,400 yards and 29 touchdowns for the Horned Frogs in 2025. And TCU's not long removed from playing and getting whacked in a national championship themselves by the Georgia Bulldogs. So it will be fascinating to watch it all play out come next year because football will be here again right before you know it. We're down to just one game left of the Super Bowl, and it's about to heat up on the hardwood with playoff action in February. And then the madness of March that comes every year. And Ed, as we finish up this episode of 757 Sports Talk, I do want to remind you of one more thing. You know what that is?
Music.
Coach Young, just remember this. There's no business like snow business.
The forecast is already calling for snow next week. Get ready. Go hit the grocery store next weekend. It's coming.
Let me give my forecast. People, it'll be the same thing we just had now. There will be no snow next week. Count on it.
We'll see you next time on 757 Sports Talk. Snow or not, because there's no business like snow business in Cova Sports TV.